as it doesn't take into account a thrower's best friend, a wall. And since her damage isn't instant, brawlers like Bull are able to take her out before she ever gets in a lick of damage. Daryl is the same story, and while BB does take quite a bit of damage since she has to run her down, she still wins convincingly. The beating continues with Buster, followed by El Primo, and then Ash had very little issues as well. Supercell decided to classify Meg as a tank, and what follows is possibly the most pathetic display of fighting ever. I mean, yeah, Will would get absolutely destroyed by Meg in tank form. I mean, it wouldn't even be close. But, I mean, hey, she'll take the win. Now, as bad as that looked, tanks are actually going to be one of Willow's prime targets. Now, not to beat in 1v1, but when it comes to mind control. When she uses her super, she takes control of the brawler that it's cast upon. That brawler breaks naturally, wreak havoc. And is also a lot like toe-to-toe against these brawlers. Her damage kind of just trickles in. There's like zero burst with her normal shot. She's much like a thrower version of Byron. And another thing that is also a lot like Byron is her first gadget called Spellbound. This will cause her next shot to deal the full damage of her normal shot instantly, plus add another 500 damage, which makes for a potent 2300 damage shot in one single go. This is a very valuable gadget for her. Now contrast this with her second gadget called Dive, where she goes underground for 2 seconds and is untargetable, but then just pops right back up at the same spot, ready to be slaughtered. Now, there are some really deadly matchups here for Willow, though, like Surge. If he has his super, he's going to send you back to your swamp with zero love. And ones like Nita, who you're going to have a terrible time trying to fend off Bruce. And no, unfortunately, you cannot mind control Bruce. That would be fun, but it's not possible. But overall, this is a pretty fair matchup, as long as you do what throwers do and stay behind a wall. The one thing that will help you and your team further here is our first star power called Love is Blind. When your main attack is active on your target, so the poison is ticking, they have a 25% slower reload speed. This is as you can see, Willow's big weakness here, that these tests are not the best for throwers. I mean, there's not like really a fair way to do it, but since we are pitting thrower versus thrower here, it's a fair fight. And as you can see, Willow's big weakness here comes into play. She does not deal any upfront damage at all, and all these brawlers are able to take her out without too much issue. Even the unlikely Tick manages to get a win here, highlighting just how weak she is if someone is able to get close to you. That being said, in a real game, this is pretty much a fair fight. She doesn't have the range of Tick or Grom, but she can deal quite a bit of damage as well as delay the opponent from starting to recover their health. So while she may seem weak here in these tests, in a game, she'll do just fine against other throwers.
Double barrel Daryl for the win!
Now, if you're a fan of the Assassins, then you know that throwers are a prime target. And Willow here is even more susceptible than some of the other throwers. Best case scenario here is you might get a kill on an Assassin after you're already dead. Or maybe you can use your second gadget to delay the inevitable, but plain and simple, this is just a bad matchup for Willow. Even though she does have a decent amount of health for a thrower, that's nothing for these bursty brawlers to break through. It's good alliteration right there. There is one thing that you could do, though, and that's use your mind to assist you or damage, and normally don't have much health either, so it seems like this would be a good matchup for these tests. Unfortunately, that's really not the case. They still dish out more damage than she does, and they deal it faster. Now, I mentioned earlier that Willow was very similar to Byron in many ways. Now, she can't heal like Byron does, but they both deal trickle damage over time. Also, Byron has never won when pitted against every other brawler, so Byron, your fans will be glad to know that he picks up his very first win today against Willow. Now, you'll also note that even Byron isn't great in these tests. He's still a very solid brawler. And in fact, he was well above average for a long time. And I think that there's a lot of analogies here that we can draw between Byron and Willow, but I'll save my recap for the end. Now, as for the support brawlers against Willow, it's kind of a wash. There is one thing that you really need to watch out for, though. As a support brawler, you're often called to be the gem carrier. And as the gem carrier, you are the prime target for mind control. If you get mind controlled, you can better believe that you will be run right to the other team or out in the open and they put in a really tough spot. On the flip side, a bad matchup for Willow here is Gray. You're going to be the target of his portal, and he will easily be able to take you down.
Mandy's candy!
On one side, we have Willow, who deals 0 point damage, and on the other side, we have brawlers who deal massive point damage from range. I mean, who do you think is going to win? If you said Willow, well then you might want to rethink some things, because even though the marksmen have low hit points, it doesn't really matter here. They completely chew through her health in a blink of an eye. Now, just because she's getting wrecked here doesn't necessarily mean that this is a bad matchup. In fact, it's not really a bad one at all, because in reality, you're almost never going to be 1v1 versus a long-range brawler as Willow. You'll be behind a wall, and the marksman will be way out of onto you. Have your mind control. Willow is part of this group. Will they still? I mean, honestly, all the brawlers here don't have, although they still beat Willow. Then there are the higher damage dealers like Griff, Ems, and Otis. And of course, they don't have too much trouble here dispatching Willow either. I mean, honestly, all the brawlers here don't have too much trouble taking her out. Bo has just too much damage. Gale has too much snow. And Amber just roasts her, like literally. That's the thing about this group that makes it tough. It's just a wide variety of brawlers here, but almost all of these brawlers have some sort of way to deal with throwers. Griff can blow up a wall. Bo has... So then, we have seen Willow. It's more complicated. How good that's going to be against real players, because I've only got a chance to use it for super, and when someone just can't stop it, really wrong here. But hey...
ჩემი არის არტისი კი რაღაც ბრავლერი რაღაც სახლის აღარ მახსოვს. ასე ვთქვა, ძლიერი ბრავლერია, სუპერით, მაგრამ ისე არა. რომ ამ ბრავლერს დავწერდი 10-დან 4-ს. რომ ძლიერი არა. და ლაიქით რომ გამოძერ ხინ ნახვამდის.